You're listening to DraftKings Network.
Feeling good about your fantasy draft picks, but not sure what to eat? Make it easy on yourself. Order in on DoorDash. Now you can root for your squad while your food and drinks are on the way. Yes, that means burgers, chips, dips, soda, pizza, wings, and so much more, delivered straight to your door.
All right, I was told by management to actually give a name to this goddamn show. So I was given a suggestion by said management, which was Puck Boys. It's Puckbois. And I'll be damned if I allow that to happen. So
I think management may have been trolling us a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. I'm trying to cut my legs from under me over here. But the name of this new show, ladies and gentlemen, is
drum roll.
The Hockey Show.
I love it.
Thank you.
That's very appropriate.
Thank you. The Hockey Show. My name is Roy Bellamy. I work for the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz. That is David Dwork. He works for the Hockey News.
Yes.
The Panthers on Wednesday defeated the Dallas Stars 5-4. It was a really, really good game. They beat a very good Dallas Stars team who's currently chasing the Colorado Avalanche. And the way they did that was basically through their first line, David.
Yeah, that first line is on fire right now. It's really cool to see Sasha Bartov and Sam Reinhart clicking because it's something they've tried each year that they've been together now. And while they both put up good numbers, it's never really worked on the same line. But that obviously is not the case this year. They're going bonkers. Sam Reinhart, he's up there. He's second, I think, in the league in goals right now with 17. You have to talk about him as a possible Maurice Rocket Richard winner at this point, just because we're more than a quarter into the season. And Reinhardt's always been such a streaky guy where he'll go like, a 10-game span where he'll score like 15 or 20 points. He'll put up 10 goals, and then he'll go 10 games where he'll put up like 2 points. But that's not really the case this year. This year, it's all coming in big bunches. He's got, I think, almost half of his games. He's got multi-point games. So, yeah, that first line, I don't want to say he's carrying the team because this team is so built so well up and down defensively, and they've been getting contributions, whether it's from the defense, whether it's from the bottom six. But that first line is scary good right now.
Yeah, and Evan Rodriguez right now, he on Wednesday, he got 4 points. He scored twice and had 2 assists.
Second time this year, he's had 4 points.
I mean, jeez. That first line is really, really, really coming together. And the second line, pretty good too.
Well, now that Sam Bennett is back healthy, because he's just that secret sauce that really just makes it work with that line. Because you got Carter Verhaeghe, last year's 40-goal scorer. He's a sniper. You got Matthew Tkachuk, who's kind of off to a pretty slow start this year with only 4 goals through 24 games, whatever it is. But he's still doing everything else that he brings to the table well, including facilitating the puck. I think he's got like 15 assists to this point.
Yeah.
But still, that second line does so much good all 200 feet of the ice. And that's really the whole team. That's their persona at this point, is they play great defensive hockey. That's why last night's game, as we're recording this on a Thursday, against the Dallas Stars was so much fun, because it was so back and forth.
Yeah, and you look at that second line with Sam Bennett and Matthew Tkachuk. I mean, there are a lot of pissed off hockey players out there because of those two.
Yeah, it's funny. Every time I tweet about Sam Bennett, there's always at least 1 or 2 fan bases. Honestly, it's Maple Leafs fans hate Sam Bennett.
Oh, of course.
Oh, my God. They do not like... But yeah, it's funny. Those two players, I mean, you got Tkachuk. Everybody in Western Canada, I think, other than people in Calgary, don't like Matthew Tkachuk. And they just go out there with a big smile, and they don't really feed into it per se, but they don't shy away from it either. I think it's just who they are, and it's their personas. And it's just kind of, it takes me back, always, Roy, it takes me back to this room that the Panthers have built. Because they've got all high character, great guys. Yeah, there's some guys on the ice who you hate. And even going before this year, the guys like Radko Gudas. But, I mean, you got your Matthew Tkachuk and Sam Bennett. Jonah Gadovich is kicking everybody's butt this year.
Ryan
Lomberg gets under everybody's skin. Tampa fans hate Ryan Lomberg. Oh, my God. But, again, these are all great guys that just do the right things on the ice. Bill Zito's just done a hell of a job.
Talked about Sam Bennett, and I'm going to mention Brandon Montour and Aaron Ekblad here. The Panthers, especially Sam Bennett, who came back from injury twice. And we saw the difference with him in the lineup during the Boston game. With him in and out of the lineup during that game in particular.
Yeah.
The Panthers are starting to get healthy, like fully healthy.
Well, the fact that they were able to come out of not being healthy while still being second in the Atlantic Division and still playing this great team brand of hockey, and then you just sprinkle in a few all-star type caliber players in Aaron Ekblad, Brandon Montour, and Sam Bennett. And yeah, it gives you a lot of excitement, I guess, if you're a Florida Panthers fan, just when you see how good the team was playing a team collective game. And then you add such elite, high caliber players to the lineup. And we see the Panther fans have seen how important Sam Bennett particularly is to that lineup because of what happened last year before and during the playoffs. So now it's all kind of coming together. They're just coming off of a Stanley Cup final appearance. It's very exciting. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but this Panthers team, they could really be on the cusp of doing something special.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. With the players out of the lineup and the Panthers, they didn't just survive it. They thrived and was able to get themselves off to a good start.
Yep.
And now everybody's back, and now the entire team can play as a collective unit now.
Yep. It's a great time. As we've talked about many times, the Panthers are a team that kind of has been notorious to getting off to bad starts and having to collect themselves and work really hard the second half of the year just to get into the playoffs, let alone making any damage there. Now, it's a bit different. They're starting the seasons well. You kind of know, okay, this season is probably going to end with a playoff, so what's next? First, it was winning that first playoff round. They did that 2 years ago against Washington. Last year, it was, okay, they've been learning this new brand of hockey that's supposed to be good in the playoffs. Let's see if it happens. Well, it happened. The Panthers became maybe the best team in the league when they were fully healthy at the end of last season and in the playoffs. Now you're seeing it all kind of happening collectively over the course of time. And yeah, like I said before, it's just, without getting too ahead of myself, it's cool to think what this team could really accomplish based on A, how much talent and they've brought together, and B, the way that they're playing this great team brand of hockey.
Let's talk about the special teams for a second. The Panthers scored a power play goal on Wednesday, but they gave up 2 power play goals against the Stars. Now, up until that point, the penalty kill has been pretty decent.
Penalty kill's been great. I think it was the 3rd or 4th best in the league all of November. Dallas is a team with a lot of firepower, and I think both of their power play goals, I remember the last one for sure, came right off of face-offs, so it wasn't necessarily where the penalty kills had a chance to set up and do their damage. But yeah, even so, the penalty kill for Florida has been probably the most consistent element of their special teams the last 6 weeks. The power play, they just went back to the very successful power play that they used last year of Brandon Montour being the only defenseman, and then Tkachuk, Reinhart, Barkov, and Sam Bennett. That unit is back together, I think 3 or 4 games now. You're starting to see that cohesiveness come together. And again, with Montour, even he spoke, I think after practice on Tuesday, the day before the game, and he said like it's taken him some time to get the comfort level, to just really feel himself back in. Because remember, these guys are only 9 games in, Montour and Ekblad, to their seasons. So it's going to take some time. The power play, I'd be really surprised if it doesn't start clicking at some point, just because they've got so much power and so much talent on that power play.
How about the second power play line?
You've got a lot of residual talent, whether it's Carter Verhaeghe, whether it's Anton Lundell. Aaron Ekblad is going to be on that. Oliver Ekman-Larsson, they could both be on that and have 2 defensemen on a very potent power play. So yeah, you would think, and that's the power play that scored, with Evan Rodriguez getting the power play goal against the Dallas Stars last night. So yeah, that's the unit that, like, when you talk about the depth of the Panthers, that power play is really deep too.
We have George Richards coming up later in this show, but I am going to play a game, and we're going to play this game with him as well, of tiers. We have 4 tiers. Okay?
Love the tier game.
Yeah. Love the tier game because we love sorting these things out into compartments, right? So we have the elite teams, the good teams, the average teams, and the ass of the league. So let's start with the Eastern Conference. We're going to go with the Metro. The New York Rangers are currently leading the Metropolitan Division by a lot.
Yeah.
So let's start with them. Are they elite?
That's the only Metro team I've got in elite right now. I was pretty specific. When you sent me these tiers the other day, and you literally sent me elite, good, average, ass, and that's what I had to work with.
Ass was in all caps, by the way.
Oh, of course it was.
Yeah.
So I've only got 5 teams right now in the entire league that I consider elite, just because I think that's a high honor.
Yeah, go ahead and name them.
So the Rangers, got the Boston Bruins, the Colorado Avalanche, the Vegas Golden Knights, and the Los Angeles Kings scare the Jesus out of me right now with how well they're playing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's a team that plays good playoff hockey. So those are my elite teams. Now, I was telling you before we got started that I kind of had to split good and average into a couple minor tiers, or whatever you want to call them, sub-tiers.
Yeah.
Because you got like Florida, Carolina, and Dallas, right? And Winnipeg.
Yeah.
Those are teams that I feel like are right on the cusp of the elite to good border. Ooh. So that was kind of the upper echelon of good. Beyond that, and this is where like you really start getting into the fun. Because Vancouver, right? They got this amazing start. How real are they?
Right, yeah.
But they're good. Detroit, who I know we're going to be talking about this year because they were already a decent team. Now they got Patrick Kane.
Yeah.
I've got Toronto in there. And I don't have Toronto with the elite teams because Toronto's just kind of like can't keep the puck out of the net. I was going to say kind of like Edmonton, but Edmonton's come around. Edmonton, who's towards the bottom of the standings, they're in the same category. Yeah. In the good category, as is Arizona. I've got Arizona in the good category.
That's actually not surprising to me.
Right?
Yeah. And them playing in a 9,000-seat arena with Arizona cool. State, it's very intimate. So I guess feeding off of the electricity of that.
They're just playing good, solid defensive hockey. They can put the puck in the net, and they're being consistent. And really, what more can you ask for from a team like Arizona, who's really gets zero respect across the league? And then rounding out good, I got Nashville and Tampa. Nashville's been on fire lately. They've got great goaltending. Tampa, I'm not sleeping on at all.
Okay, we got 2 minutes left. Let's go through the average before we get to the big old asses of the league.
Okay. The average, but good. So the top tier of average, I've got the Devils, who we saw last year how good they could be. Same thing with the Minnesota Wild. I'm surprised that they've been as bad as they've been. Washington Capitals, they probably should be above with the good teams. I'm just not sold that they're going to be consistent yet. They've had a very decent start to the season, as have the Philadelphia Flyers, surprisingly. They survived the Carter Hart injury. He's back. They're playing well under Torts. So those are the better average teams. And then below them, you got the Blues, your Penguins, the Islanders, Calgary, Montreal, San Jose, who I don't have in the ass of the league because I think they've been playing a lot better. And Ottawa, who also, despite being at the bottom of the standings, they haven't played that many games. So Ottawa's a decent team, and they could be a potential playoff caliber type sneaky team as well.
That makes me happy that the Sharks are not in the ass.
Sharks have been playing some good hockey the last couple of weeks.
Good for them.
Yes.
And good for Giovanni Smith and good for Anthony Duclair. Let's go with the ass.
The ass. Well, at the top of the ass is like Seattle, who was a playoff team last year. They just have not figured it out this year. Buffalo, who cannot get out of their own way. They've dealt with a lot of injuries this year. Columbus is Columbus.
Yeah.
Anaheim, with an amazing start to this year, just totally fell off a cliff, and Anaheim is now what they were last year. And the Chicago Blackhawks, the Connor Bedard, the shine of that, the fun start, I think that's worn off a bit, and Chicago's kind of fallen into their own issues as well.
All right, it's the 10-minute misconduct. We got a guy coming in the penalty box with us by the name of George Richards from Florida Hockey Now and the NHL.com. This guy has been covering the Florida Panthers for a very, very long time, almost 2 decades, and it doesn't show on his face. Hey, George, how you doing?
Well, that was as nice an intro as I've ever gotten.
Hey, listen, we're professionals right here.
He's an old guy. It doesn't look like it. Come on.
Well, I'm an old guy and I don't look like it.
No, you really don't.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
You're a good looking man.
I appreciate that. I think I shaved and everything, you know.
You look good, bro.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Very nice.
It's a lot of love in this room.
Hey, yeah, a lot of love. I mean, need the love around here. The Florida Panthers are having a pretty incredible season considering how they started with, like a quarter of the roster not being there. But they're having a very good season. In fact, you look at Wednesday's game against Dallas, you look at their first line, and you saw how they played. It was amazing. And we look at the trophies at the end of the season. It pretty much seemed like Alexander Barkov is going to win the Selke Trophy. Don't you agree?
Well, I think he's going to be right in it. I mean, it's a little early. We're about a quarter of the way through the season. But, I think anytime you talk about top defensive forwards, Sasha Barkov is right there. He won the award a couple years ago. And last year was would have been in the running for it had he not had the injuries. And thus far this season, he hasn't been hurt. So, no, he's absolutely terrific. I talked to Paul Maurice just on the side. We were talking about Sam Reinhart, and he was just raving about Sasha Barkov and how while Reinhart's got all the goals and stuff, Barkov does so much stuff that nobody really pays any attention to, and so does Reinhart. I mean, those guys go against the opposition's best, and they're still producing. I mean, like you said, I think he's a favorite for it, especially with the attention that the Panthers are getting, no doubt.
Speaking of Sam Reinhart, obviously he has all the goals this season.
All the goals.
All the goals. I mean, he's scoring all those doggone goals. The Maurice Richard Trophy. Do you think he's a candidate for that? And is there a possibility, a slim possibility, that if he continues this through the All-Star break, that it could be considered for the Hart Trophy?
Well, perhaps. I mean, you'd have to. The Rocket Richard Trophy goes to the player who scores the most goals. So yeah, he's definitely in the running for it because he is right up there at the top of the league right now. He's on pace to score 55 goals, 56 goals. His career high is 33. So he is having an absolute blistering start to his season. As far as Hart Trophy stuff goes, I mean, a little early for that kind of talk, but we'll see how the Panthers do. If he's able to carry this kind of a season through, if he has anywhere near 50 goals and the Florida Panthers, end up winning the Atlantic or something, yeah, I think, a guy like that would be right in that mix. But then again, so would a player like Barkov, and let's see what Matthew Tkachuk, ends up doing. He's off to a slow start, but if he was able to pick it up here in this final 2/3 of the season, who knows?
Yeah, that's what we were talking about before the show, George, was that like this time last year, nobody was talking about Matthew Tkachuk as a Hart Trophy guy, and look at the second half that he had. So a lot's going to change.
A lot can change. Yeah, because Florida, you look at the position Florida was in first half of the year. They didn't even have a 3-game winning streak. So vast change from last year.
So when you look at this forward group for the Florida Panthers, George, like obviously we've talked a lot, even just now talked a lot about the top line, the Barkov, Reinhart, and Evan Rodriguez, and the chemistry that they're growing. But just overall, the way that the Florida Panthers, now that they're healthy, are able to throw 4 pretty consistent forward lines at you, whether you got your top 6, which are great on both ends of the ice. You've got a third line centered by Anton Lundell that's showing up great defensively. And then you've got this fourth line that just smacks you in the face every time they're on the ice. The Florida's got to be one of, if not the deepest forward groups in the NHL.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that, especially when you talk about that fourth line that just seems to enjoy going out there to create some havoc, right? Yeah. I mean, you've got Kevin Stenlund, he seems like the sane guy out there. And then you've got Lomberg and Gadgevich just running around like crazy people. They're having a lot of fun out there and they play a responsible game. They don't take dumb penalties really. I think that was kind of the knock on the fourth line in years past, that maybe they ran people a little too much, but they've been playing smart and they've been playing effective. So when you talk about a deep forward group, yeah, I think you start with the Panthers because you look at that center line. You're going Barkov, Bennett, Anton Lundell, and Stenlund, who is a very under the radar signing on July 1. That listen, this is the guy that Bill Zito picked to replace Eric Stahl. Talked to him at the draft just before free agency, and he was like, we have a number of positions we want to upgrade. One of those was the fourth line center position. They let Eric Stahl walk. They thought Kevin Stenlund was going to be an upgrade at that position. So far, he has been.
We as humans like to sort things out and put things into cabinets, right? So we're going to do that with the National Hockey League. And we have 4 tiers that we like to put out there for you so we can sort these hockey teams out. We have the elite tier, we have good, we have average, and we have ass. So let's start with the Atlantic Division and the Florida Panthers. Where are they in those 4 tiers?
I think they're on the bottom side of elite because this is a team that went to the Stanley Cup final. They're in second place in the Atlantic right now. They could be battling for first place. I think is Boston going to be able to carry through their start through the whole season? I don't think they will. So I think the Atlantic is still going to be up for grabs. So I would say at the bottom end of the elite to very good.
Oh, wow. Okay. And the Boston Bruins are obviously in the elite tier.
Sure.
Right? Sure.
Right. But I could see them dropping down. Absolutely.
Okay. The Detroit Red Wings are in third place in the Atlantic Division. Patrick Kane is in the fold now. And it looks like they're on the rise. What tier do you have them in?
I have them at the very good. I mean, I think that's the team. When you talked about the Atlantic Division coming into this season, you had the teams you knew were good: Florida, Boston, Tampa Bay, Toronto. Then you had the young group, Buffalo, Detroit, Ottawa. Which one of those teams would make the jump? It's been Detroit. They've been absolutely terrific. I love the way they play. I love their coach. I like the way they're built. And now they get Patrick Kane last night. That's a great move for them. I mean, that absolutely is. He's a veteran player. He can do a lot of things. We'll see how this season treats him with that hip surgery. That's a major surgery. We saw him last night make his debut with the Red Wings, but let's see how it goes through the season. He picked Detroit because the travel's not really that bad. They don't have a lot of their games are hour flights, so it's not that bad for him. It's going to be interesting. I think he was a real good pickup. A lot of people down here were like, Florida Panthers don't need Patrick Kane. Yeah, you could definitely use a guy like that. You put him on the right side of that third line, you got something. You put him on that first power play, you've got something. So good for him. He went to Detroit. That's where he wanted to go. But I think the Florida Panthers are right in that mix, and I think he would have been a good addition.
Before we wrap up talking about the other teams in the Eastern Conference, I did just want to ask you, Georgie, as you consider the Panthers one of the elite teams out there, who do you think is their biggest competition in the Eastern Conference right now?
Well, I think it comes from within the Atlantic, right? Because that's where they're going to be. Last year, they were the second wild card, so they could have played the top Metro team, but they ended up staying in the Atlantic against Boston. So it's going to be Toronto, Boston, Tampa Bay. Unless Florida wins the Atlantic and gets one of the wild cards out of the Metro, I think you just look within your division and that's your competition. And again, you worry about what's at the end. Last year it was the Carolina Hurricanes. This year it could be the New York Rangers waiting on the other side. So, or someone else, maybe Pittsburgh makes a run. Who knows what's going to happen in the Metro, but it'll be interesting, just like last year was. Sure.
You look at the attendance at the Florida Panthers games now at Emirates Bank Arena, and yes, they named it Emirates Bank Arena. Thank God somebody gave them a name and they could pay for the arena now. But anyway, the attendance has gone up. The season tickets in the lower bowl has, effectively
almost gone, yeah.
It's basically gone. And you look in the upper deck, that's filled too. Wednesday's game, that was great attendance for a game versus the Dallas Stars on a Wednesday night. The games on Thanksgiving week were filled. So, it is a stark change between now and when you started covering the Panthers a long time ago, right?
It was so long ago. My goodness, it was so long. It's been a long time. Titanic. Yeah, it's unbelievable. I told Pete DeBoer yesterday, or the other when Dallas was here, we were talking. I was like, tonight is going to be the biggest crowd you've seen in this building since the 2012 playoffs when he was here with New Jersey. Just because every time, one of his team comes here, whether it's Vegas or San Jose or Dallas, that's not a game that really draws. Sometimes there's been 10,000 people in the building, and this place is a ghost town. It's a 20,000 seat barn. And when 14,000 seems empty here. Last night, Wednesday night, they had 18,500. Like you said, Roy, those last four rows are always the last to sell. Those were packed on our side. So it really is. On a Monday night against Columbus, they had 18,700. That's just unbelievable for this market. So it has been something that's been building. We always said not only do the Panthers have to win, but they have to win consistently, because you can't just all of a sudden go from last place to being a contender and sell a bunch of tickets. It takes a couple years to build that up. Now we've seen this team in the playoffs 3 straight years. You saw last year this team able to sell season tickets during a long postseason run where that guaranteed them playoff tickets. So people bought season tickets for this year. You're seeing that manifest itself. So they've definitely moved back into the top 4 here in South Florida, into the pecking order, because for a while there they were below the Race at Homestead.
Oh man,
no, that's good. Let's go.
Well, that kind of leads me into what I wanted to ask you, George. Because as Roy has alluded to, you've been covering this team for a while, but How nice has it been, or how different, I guess, has it been covering them the last couple of years with so much winning and so much positivity? Because you've covered it through some dark times, the dark ages that we don't really refer to that much, some up and down times. But how just nice has it been from a journalist standpoint of covering a team that's had so much success?
Well, I covered the Panthers when I first started. It was the major league years, right? I mean, you'd tell people you covered the Florida Panthers, and like, they still have a team. I'm like, yeah,
uniforms and everything.
It's really neat. That's when you walked into the sandwich shop across the street, and there was a stack of tickets like that.
Yeah.
Randy Moeller had a stack in his pocket. He's like, Georgie, go get 18 of your friends and make sure they scan the ticket so we get credit for the attendance. I mean, it was bad. And things have slowly built, but let's not forget, a couple of years ago, they were averaging 14,000 here. So it's taken a while. It's taken a while for this organization to build into a winner. I think that's the biggest thing because, David, you remember 2016, this team wins the Atlantic. They've got Yager and Ekblad and Barkov and all this great feeling. And then, they have the 2016-17 season where they're back out of the playoffs. They don't make it back again until 2021. I mean, this team couldn't, this organization sometimes couldn't get out of its own way. And now you're seeing this pretty sustained success. Like I tell people, I'm like, you talk about the good old days. These are them for the Florida Panthers. This team's never been to the playoffs this many years in a row. And that's kind of sad to say when you look at teams around the league. This is the first time this team's ever been to the playoffs 3 straight years. Yeah, they're going on 4. They've been to the Stanley Cup Finals now twice. I mean, we'll see where they go from here, but this is a pretty good little run they're on, and they're built to keep it going.
Covering the Florida Panthers for Florida Hockey Now and the National Hockey League for NHL.com is George Richards. George, please stop. Make sure that Kobe guy stops walking your camera shot, please. Can you tell him to be a professional?
He don't know what's going on. This is a media work group, my friends. I mean,
yeah, sure.
There's media work.
I thought that was just the background. I thought that was just your Zoom background.
Yeah, I thought that was your bedroom for a second.
With these kind of lights?
Recessed lighting. Thank you, George.
Thank you, guys. See you later.